Welcome to Cannes Airport. It's a lovely day here in October, and I was thinking today about a time before we had a liberalised language testing market in Europe. Now, if you're an old French pilot like me, you'll remember the time when the only way to get your English qualification on your French pilot's licence was to go and take an exam at the French Civil Aviation Authority, the DGAC. Now, this test was a very particular kind of test. Well, I say was, it still exists, is a particular kind of test because it involves a lot of translation of stock phrases from French into English. And now, as it was mainly designed for French-speaking pilots, you would think that's probably quite a logical thing to do. However, as soon as you get someone who doesn't speak any French, it's actually impossible for them to pass the test, simply because you need to be able to understand what is written in French in order to reproduce it in English. And in fact, if we go onto the DGAC's website, it says this: I honestly can't think of any other English test where your ability to pass it depends on your knowledge of a language other than English. And a couple of months ago, I was asked by a French air traffic controller to help him prepare for one of the DGAC's own in-house English assessments, which also had one of these translation sections in it. And we worked through some of the training materials he was given to prepare for the test. Now, I'm just going to take out a few examples of some of the sentences they were asking this guy to translate, bearing in mind that there is a set answer for each translation. And as far as I'm aware, the examiners base their marking on how close your translation is to the translation that's written on their piece of paper. Ça risque de sauter un peu au roulage. Il y a des ornières gelées à l'autre bout de la voie de circulation. And the translation that was given for that was: taxiing is likely to be a bit bouncy. There are some frozen ruts at the far end of the taxiway. On nous a déjà signalé ces projecteurs hier soir. Nous n'avons pas la moindre idée de ce que ça peut être. We were already advised of those floodlights last night. We don't have any idea what they can be. So as you can see, there's some interesting translations in these exercises. And to a certain extent, for a French speaker, this can be a good thing in the sense that it forces them to create language. It forces them to say something. Whereas a test which just has open questions can lead to some pilots not really speaking very much. However, the downside of a translation-based test is it pushes people to learn to say quite obscure things. Now, as a translator, I don't really have a problem with this because I love language. I love obscure phrases and obscure vocabulary. Things like a frozen rut, which sounds like it came out of the adult version of a Disney film. But again, it also creates the problem of possible unreliable results. Somebody who is a native English speaker, but who doesn't have a very high level of French, is obviously going to struggle to translate things like this. So could you pass your DGAC English test? Let me know.